foes. I won't kneel for the anthem, cause the flag is what I'm standing for. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my scars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you back your bags. America.
Good evening, everybody out there on Utopia, all you podcasters listening to us on audio file, those of you watching on Rumble, good evening. It is October 18th, and this is the corner of church and state where there is no separation, and I am your friendly neighborhood bearded weirdo coming at you loud and proud as I always do, and with this magnificence upon my face. Oh boy. And right here, to my side, my brother, my compadre, my best friend, and my pastor, the one, the only, the Gary Podosek. How are you doing today, brother?
It's good. Good day. We're here. We
had some technical difficulties. We are starting a bit later.
I mean that, and you know, you try not to let those things bug you, but I think like any human being, you know, when you're planning something and you're striving to get something accomplished, and like all of a sudden, like everything you're trying to do, like nothing works.
Yeah, when I specifically tell people on TikTok and Facebook and everything else that we generally are going to start between 7 and 8 o'clock, and here it is 9:30.
It is what it is. So, but let's jump right in, because you know we don't want to make them wait.
Yeah, well, this is true, and as you can tell by the title of today's episode, Utopia by Regulations. And, you know, if you haven't been completely blind over the last decade or so, you would be able to see that there are individuals in our government and in corporations and in the world stage, international stage, that have been trying to create, or at least give people the idea that we could create a utopia. And by doing that, they want to do regulation. We've got, you know, you don't need your rights. We'll give you this.
Well, and the thing is, and this is I guess the caveat to this entire plateau that we're setting up is what they express is utopia is impossible. Right. Utopia is a fantasy term. It's not actually possible. Like one of the things, me and you both share this love for Star Trek, the Next Generation. You like Deep Space Nine, but
no. Yeah. Overall, like the Star Trek universe.
Yeah. But it's based out of a premise that there's a utopian society, right? That's how it all comes to this place. Well, utopia.
Earth has a utopia.
Right. Now
everybody's peaceful. There's no Earth has become essentially its own kingdom. It's become its own.
Right.
Instead of there being many countries, they have, instead of having the president of the United States or the president of Ukraine or the president of this other country over here, it's the president of Earth.
Right.
So all of Earth is united, and now Earth is somewhat of a utopia.
Right. And the premise of a utopia is that it's perfect. Everything is good. Everything is right. But even
you can't argue with the utopia.
Well, and this is the point. The utopia is the government. Right.
Yep.
And you don't really see Star Trek in the sense that, or if you're a fan of Star Trek, you don't usually see like, oh, well, you know, I want a cup of tea, and the little hollow projector thing creates your cup of tea and you enjoy your tea, and you didn't pay for it. You didn't have to you didn't do nothing. You just ask for tea and boom, you have tea. Yep. So it seems great.
And that's the one thing that Star Trek doesn't do. They tell you that there's a utopia, pretty much a utopia on Earth, but they never show you it.
Well, and the thing is, but you see it through the governmental Starfleet Academy, the governmental, you know, all the commanders and the lieutenants and the ranking officials and all that. But what you don't understand is that in order to keep a utopia, the citizenry have to give up their rights.
Yep.
It's the only way it works, because it doesn't work any other way. So what the premise of today is really going to be about is do you really want utopia? Because it is going to come at the mortgage of your freedoms and your rights, which is anti-American.
Yes.
So utopia on its front is anti-American. So anybody who's trying to tell you that utopia is a goal or it is what we should be achieving or trying to reach wants America to be gone, faced off the map. It doesn't exist.
See the difference between full freedom, which is the freedoms that we have in this country. We have all the freedoms that we have, the freedoms to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The cost of those is a lot. In order for us to have freedom, somebody somewhere has to give their life to keep them, to defend them.
Right.
In Utopia, the cost for the Utopia is every one of your freedoms.
Right. And this is the point. So one of the things we're going to really talk about is how laws, government regulations, things like that have come in, and under this guise of, well, it's going to eventually be better for everybody.
It makes you safe.
Is it better right now? And on top of that, is it really better in the long run?
Here's the thing. I'm trying to think of his name. Oh, my God. It was the guy that used to do the world's dirtiest jobs.
Mike. You're right. I can't think of his last name.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I do know.
I listened to him one time say that, everybody wants to – you got all these jobs and everything else is like safety first, safety first, safety first. And he said that's impossible. You can never have safety be first, because if safety is first, you'll give up everything to get safety. It's more like safety third. Safety always has to be the third thing. So, that's the thing that Utopia thinks. Well, we can make you safe. We can make you safe from murder, pain. We can make you safe from crime. We can make you safe from all these things as long as you give us your freedoms. And, I mean, yes, you've heard it quoted, Republicans, conservatives love this. Oh, this is 1984 now. And because you actually read 1984, that's exactly what they're trying to do. And you're not allowed to have wrong think, let alone wrong speech, but wrong think.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to figure, like, now what used to be, in Orwell's, what are they called? The thought police, right?
Yeah, the thought police is exactly what they're.
I mean, they're fact checkers now. It's the same thing. I mean, you can't.
Wait, are you quoting my boy over there?
Well, is it not true? Is the question. I mean, yeah. I mean, credit Tom MacDonald for pulling it out, but he's just speaking the truth.
Yeah.
You got to look at right now what the thought police were doing in 1984 versus now what the fact checkers do.
You have fact checkers. You now have
fact checkers aren't checking facts. They're literally telling you what is fundamentally a fact isn't actually a fact, and they're just saying it under the pretense of they don't like what you have to say.
Yep.
But because they're a known commodity or a body politic that is saying this is not indeed fact, you'll believe the body of politic, not the actual facts, which is, it's Orwellian, no matter what you say.
And just to give examples of this, some people will be like, well, where have we so far given up freedoms for the beginnings of this utopia? Well, not too long ago, COVID-19.
Yep.
Everybody decided that it was okay for the government to tell us that after 2 years of 2 weeks to slow the spread, that was okay. We can give up our freedoms, freedoms that are actually enumerated in our Constitution. The freedoms to freely travel, which is in our Constitution. They're not allowed to stop you from freely traveling from different parts of the country. Not allowed to, but they did. Yep. You weren't allowed to speak against anything that the science and anybody else had to say because, that pro wrestler had his title belt and could barely throw the ball off at a mound to batter. But we had to listen to him because he was the science. How dare you? We had to give up our rights for that. How dare you be an individual? Put this mask on. You're not allowed to be an individual anymore. Now you're just like everybody else. a person with a face diaper on. Okay, everything in those 2 years was set to see, could they make the American population totally give up everything for safe? And they found out real quick that though it worked for a little bit, and some of us were like, okay, we can do this for 2 weeks. But 6 months later, we had a big old problem.
Right.
Like our church, for a time, we did shut down.
We didn't shut down.
Well, we didn't shut down. Sorry. We
suspended in-house meetings.
Yeah, we suspended in-house meetings.
We still had our
the worship
teams
team
and
was
people
still
coming
at the
in.
church.
Yep.
The worship team was still at the church.
We did not stop.
The preachers were still at the church.
Yep.
We did everything on Utopia for a couple of weeks, and then we were like, you know what, screw this. We're coming back.
We're going back.
And we dared the government to tell us otherwise.
Yep.
Because we have the constitutional right.
It's on our side.
It's on our side.
And that's what the stance was that we took. And we went based off of the actual fundamental principles of, okay, well, biblically speaking, we're not to rebel in such a fashion against governmental authorities. But when the government said that this was the time frame and then it was this end, when it got to that end, that's when we said, okay. But when they kept moving the goalpost, you're no longer trustworthy.
Well, see, I kind of disagree with something you just said.
Well, I want to be clear.
Christians were not supposed to rebel against the government. And I disagree with that, because the reality is that whether people want to realize this or not, the foundation of this country, actually, let's even take it back further. The foundation of government in a whole is from God. The minute that government steps out from what God had imposed it to be, had made it to be, because the church, the body of Christ, the people of God are supposed to be the conscience of the government. The minute that the government oversteps the body of Christ, the people of God are supposed to rise and go, hey, knock that off.
Well,
when they continue to do it, we're supposed to get louder. And if they continue to do it, then we need to take action. Whatever that may be, whether it means running for office, voting them out, speaking even louder in a public forum so that people can't deny what we have to say. But I look through the scriptures. Daniel was told not to worship God. He did it anyway. Technically, he was rebelling against that government. So to say that we aren't supposed to rebel against the government is false, because we wouldn't even have America if we didn't rebel against the government.
All right. So what I'm trying to tell you is there's a level of respectfulness that isn't there. And so what you do, and that's what we did, we listened to what they had to say. We respected them in their initial. We respected them in their initial stance, but after that stance was proven to be no longer guided by any sort of pretenses that made sense, right? Like you rationalize. I don't expect the government today, especially today, to stand up on biblical principle, but I do.
We are talking about the same people that couldn't get a healthcare website to work properly.
Look, we can talk about a whole bunch of things the government has done terribly wrong, but that's the least of the problems I ever had to worry about. But in this particular case, what we did is it's the extending of the olive branch. We'll see what you do. If you do well, then you've proven to become a little bit more trustworthy with this. However, when you move the goalpost, you're not trustworthy. That no longer mandates that mandate no longer flew. So that's why we opened up. But this I think you did when you mention safe and you talk about safety and bringing in safety. This immediately rings out to me in one of the biggest, absolute, horrifically bad policies, legislations, you name it, that have been like a sounding siren since I've been born and since we've been born. And that is the overregulation of guns in this country in the guise of safety, right?
Oh, but wait. Our children are properly protected by signs that say no guns allowed.
Look, I am just going to throw this out here, and I know that it's not. This isn't rah Second Amendment stuff. This is actually the stupidity of some of these things. We're reducing magazine sizes. We're removing all the different little gadgety things that go on guns because
I
somehow
actually
that
hope
makes
you to
them
be more safe with it.
yeah, like one of my favorite ones is, and I'm not 100% where, but I do believe it's in a lot of states, is that they've removed these stocks and these additional armaments that are on certain pistols and stuff like that. These pistol grips and these other shoulder butt stocks and stuff like that for pistols, because somehow that makes it into a fully automatic weapon.
No.
Which it does nothing.
Wait.
But hold on.
My favorite one was the one for the one-armed person.
Right. That's
the one that straps the arm. Like, that's a bump stock. No, it's not.
They've removed these things in the guise of somehow it's making them harder to. It's making the gun more accurate, therefore more deadly. But it's not what it was purposed for. It was purposed for stabilizing for those who maybe are disabled and able to fire a gun. Because why should a disabled person lose the freedom of being able to protect themselves from, let's say, some form of molestation or harm? Like, let's stop thinking that every one-armed person in the world is a guy.
All right. Well,
because a one-armed person could be a woman who could be a easier target because guess what? She doesn't have a right hook anymore because she doesn't have a right arm. So she's probably easy prey. So I think I can take advantage of that. Girl comes over and she's got a left-handed gun with a wrist touch on it that lets her point that thing accurately and shoot without having any kind of disrupting, the
recoil
on it.
Over the place.
Oh, now that's okay. It's not okay. Is it okay? So
let me
overregulation of guns by its default.
Let me
in the name of safety.
Let me bring something down real simple. Let me remind some viewers here, if you don't already know. I'm hoping that there are some people that are anti-gun that might be watching this episode. Who knows? Maybe you're crazy enough to just spend an hour or so listening to us. But do you realize that every tool, simple tool. Let me go back to this.
Screwdriver.
Every simple
Phillips head, flathead.
Well, no. Wait, hold on. That's how I'm going. Every simple tool that we have used since we've gone from being nomadic to actually farming. All right, we're going way, way back. All right, every tool used back then for that, whether it be axes, machetes, to cut down big, knives, everything else.
Arrows.
Always had a dual purpose. One, to do a job. A hammer will quite easily do a job. It will nail in wood pegs, even back then. Would hammer in wood pegs. Would hammer in, doing metal work. You'd use that hammer for metal work. But if somebody came up on you, that hammer became a weapon. Swords were originally plow blades and machete blades to cut down debris, brush and stuff like that. That they go, oh wait, I can use this to defend myself. Okay, rakes and sickles. Again, pitchforks. All these things at some point in time were originally created to be used for farm work. But if it came down to somebody trying to take what is yours or to kill you and to kill the ones you love, maybe I shouldn't say kill. To unalive. I don't want YouTube to kick us off because I decided to use the word kill. But somebody comes to unalive your family and those you love and to steal what you have made or you have gained. That tool now becomes a weapon. Okay, the original point of a firearm. Let's do a little bit of history here. The reason why we have gunpowder is the Chinese. Hate to say it, we're going to give it to them. They're the ones that created gunpowder. They did so for fireworks. We then took it, made it to cannons. Then
what
took
happens if you put a metal thing in front of it?
Right?
What happens? Oh,
of course, the Brits. It wasn't really Americans. The Brits were the ones going, what if we put a round ball in front of that and can it hurt?
Large metal tube.
In a large. Okay.
Firework
so anyway,
back.
I can guarantee you that was originally used because they didn't just test it on people because it'd be stupid to shoot people because if it didn't work, whatever. Hunting.
Oh, wow.
Same as bow and arrow. So it was used for hunting first, and then they go, oh wait, everybody can have one. So there we have everybody has one.
Wait, but let's be clear. that was not the utility. The hunting mechanism of a gun, right? Today, right? Hunters go shoot.
But I'm just saying.
Hold on, wait. I want to clarify.
Yeah.
The gun was not the tool that was used to hunt with. It was the tool to protect yourself from the bigger animal that would try to take the meat that you just killed with the actual hunting utility. So, i.e., you go, you shoot a deer, you're like, oh, I'm going to go get that deer. And then there's a 6'5", 380-pound black bear standing over your deer.
If it's 6'5",
probably like 450, 500-pound bear, whatever. I don't care
with
what the
razor sharp claws.
Claws that will take your literal face off. Okay, that gun may not even have. And I'm gonna pull little Joe. Out here. You could just shoot it into the sky, and the bear probably would run away. But if he didn't, you could shoot the bear.
Yep.
And it's going to not do anything.
And so that's the thing. Everybody wants to be afraid.
Substitute bear with pedophile.
We should have hunting license for
that.
Well,
no. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is,
I am.
You can surmisingly just not. Be
I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is,
we're gonna look for maps.
Okay, but look. What I'm saying is that when you're talking about this, it's easy for anybody to say, oh, well, there's no harm in, defending yourself from a predator like a black bear or, some other fearsome animal like a lion or a tiger.
What do you do when people want to come take what's yours?
Well, hold on, but that's that. They're actively going to try to take your life, right?
Well, I'm talking about that animal. I'm talking about invaders.
Hold on. Wait. That's what I'm saying. You're burying my lead. Chill. All right. So what I'm saying is that if you figure that it's okay, and everybody here probably could rationalize protecting yourself from a bear, right, with a gun. Yeah. Well, why is it so hard to understand that same protection is in there for, let's say, a woman against a sexual predator?
Did you ask her
protecting
what her
your children
was?
Or protecting your children from an abductor, or protecting yourself from a would-be criminal, right?
Or protecting yourself.
Wants to kidnap you, hurt you, maybe do physical harm or other things to you. Maybe they just want to, and like you already said, they just want to take something that doesn't belong to them.
Or at the worst case scenario, protect you and protect yours and what you have and what you own and your lives of all that you love from a tyrannical government.
And that's the big case, but here's the thing.
We did it once with Britain.
Here's the thing. You got to be able to understand, and this goes back to things that we've talked about, right? Where's the moral compass? If the moral compass is gone in favor of utopianism, right? Like you're trying to build that utopia. Well, in order to get that utopia, we're going to have to bend the morals a little bit, which basically means that some things that maybe you might think are bad, we might have to start accepting them in order to make this utopia.
Like
we have to give a little in order to get little, right? So we have to accept trans gender into your children's schools so that they can become more accepting of all this other stuff. After all, because it's the only way we're going to achieve utopia.
Yeah. And in the process, you need to be accepting of criminals, and really you don't really own that stuff anymore. The government owns it, so you don't need to protect it. So we're going to take your guns. Well, and how dare you speak out against us? So you can be on social media and you can say whatever you want, but if you don't say what we like, then your social score is going to go down.
Right.
And then eventually you'll end up in Uyghur camps like China likes to do to people. And then that just, it's a slippery slope.
Right. And what the other things that on the name of safety that come across here is, you have domestic abuse, right? In home or wherever it takes place. But when you're allowing this stuff to happen, okay, which right now our government readily is just allowing.
It allows it to happen. Not just domestic violence, but abuse of children.
Yep.
All areas of abuse, not just, the darkest of dark, but just all areas of abuse. In my opinion, and I've said this before in other episodes, that there are three things that I do not forgive. I'm not Jesus Christ. I cannot forgive these three things. And those are the abuse of children in any way, shape, or form, the abuse of women, and the raping of women and children. I cannot forgive those. God may be able to, but I ain't God.
Look,
and in my opinion, they deserve the harshest punishment possible, and it should be televised and it should be public. But that's that. Now, what I will say is that when it comes to domestic violence, we have all these regulations. The state says we have these laws. So you go and you report the person for doing it. Most of the time, they don't even want to report it. In fact, I know a sister, a woman who I call sister, who went through this most recently. In fact, we were part of a group that supposedly said that they were going to protect women and children. And I came to find out that it's just a bunch of boys with toys type of situation. And they weren't going to stand to the convictions and be true leaders and true men. And, you know, she went to the police. Police said, that's not our job. You go to the court. She went to the court. Court called BS on the police, told her to go back. So now she had to spend another day, go back to the police. They finally filled it out right. Well, they filled it out, then they filled it out wrong. Then she had to go back and they had to fill it out right again. And then she had to go to court, get a court date. All the while that was going on, there's supposed state organizations and state nonprofits that say that, okay, he's not in the house. You want to move for your safety. We'll help you get a place. We'll help you. We'll help pay for storage containers. And we'll help pay for this and we'll help pay for that. And they all gave her a bunch of these promises, and then now they're not paying for any of that stuff. Now, she did end up winning the court case, and the judge saw fit to hit him with everything that they can in the state of New Jersey when it comes to a first offense. But we now know that it wasn't the first offense. It was just the first time somebody actually went to court with him.
Well, and then, but here's the biggest issue, right? You hear something like that, right? And I'm gonna go dark. For just a minute.
That's usually me.
Dark, like, there's Dark Joe. I'm gonna go dark pastor. Yeah,
dark pastor.
But hear me if you're watching this and you're listening, and I will immediately say this: if you listening or watching this have experienced this is by no means a mocking or a trivializing or anything of personal
this
experience.
Angers me.
Please understand what I'm saying is not based in a reality of sort, but it is real in the sense of what I'm bringing out. But if you as a human being, a person, I'll even go as far as if you are a female, a woman, and you have been a victim of sexual abuse or domestic abuse, and you worked up the courage to finally come and accuse your attacker with proof, evidence, submitted to authorities and everything like that, and you have your day of vindication where that person is taken away from you in handcuffs, locked into the back of a car, and the police give you this, it's all good. He's gone. He will never hurt you again. Only to go into a facility where he's held for maybe 30 days and then released on bail.
Not even released on bail.
Or just released because
we don't have
we're not even gonna put bail up for him. Or we're gonna sentence him for to prison, but then we're just gonna release him because
we don't have the capacity.
Or we don't feel the offense was warranted.
And I've dealt with this. Okay, we had, again, the group that I was a part of. I believe in the cause. I do not believe in the leadership. And I will not say their name because they do not need to be mentioned. If you want to know who it was, go back to older episodes when I mentioned their name. But I had a case up here in Jersey where I was on call for like 2-3 weeks in a row because there was a possibility that they were going to let a man who had just brutalized this woman, they were holding him in jail until his court time, but this defense attorney was trying to get him out so that he didn't have to stay in jail until the court date. And 3 weeks of being on call, that this woman was deathly afraid that at any point he could be let free. The court said that they would call her when they let him go, It would take when they decided it if they were going to let him go, and it would take him 3 to 4 hours to get out, all the processing to get out, which would give me the time to get up there with a couple other people to defend her, by any means necessary, and that's just absolutely absurd.
Right, and this is my point. Like, I mean, and thankfully, yeah,
the New Jersey courts actually held on it and they held him in.
I'm not even saying that, but thankfully there was this extra layer of insurance that she had with you guys supporting her in that. But not everybody has that outlay, and not everybody has that level of protection. And you know what?
And that's
when you rely, and this is the point, you rely on your government. You rely on your government to afford you at least
the right to defend yourself.
That minimal amount of security. That minimal amount of security and protection that a criminal who has done such horrible atrocities would no longer be a threat if they were detained. But now that's not there. Now that's gone. So what are you going to do? And this is by no means advocating for fear, and this is, like I said, I'm not trying to indoctrinate a fear into you or research something. But this is where I go. What we advocate for
is that this is where it comes in that the government gave you the Second Amendment right. Yes,
I'm not even talking about the Second A.
But there's even in the Constitution, you have the right to defend yourself and what's yours.
You have the right to face your accuser in court.
Yep. And you have the right to life.
Right. Liberty and the pursuit of happiness. So this is my point. And if we're not going to fight for it, then you are indeed, in fact, in favor of utopia, because really, in the reality of it is, you don't care if your freedoms are stolen.
And see, here's the thing: is that for so long, and I'm sure there's a couple some Christians listening and watching. Hopefully, there's more than a couple. We've been told for generations, that the church has no right to talk in politics.
Well, we do that here.
The church has the church. You get your nonprofit status. You have no right to talk. You have no right to talk about politics at your pulpit. You have no right to protest against anything that.
Where did you hear all this from?
No, but this is what they teach. This is what they want.
Who?
Huh?
Who?
Oh, there's a lot of pastors growing up that I heard all that.
Oh, okay. I'm just curious because they didn't get it from this guy.
Not from you, no.
Well, you better not.
Maybe the one before you a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could get into that one, but we're not going to go there. But we've had this idea that the world loves to tell us that idea that you don't have the right. And you know what? Maybe in the beginning the church didn't listen, but as of late, I'm going to say about 85 to 90% of the American church has bought into it.
Well, but
that is why we're at the point that we're at.
Right. That was exactly what I was going to say. Is the lie, the big lie that the government wants to tell you, right, about how the election wasn't stolen and all that stuff.
Oh, it was the safest and most fair election ever.
The big lie,
right? YouTube,
right? The big lie, right? That's the big lie. That's not the big lie, because that lie. Or what did that lie do? What seriously?
Upset a few people.
No. Seriously, in the simplest scope, right? If you don't believe it's a big lie, I'm not saying it is or isn't or anything like that. I'm just saying, but if you did believe that was the biggest lie that has ever happened in the history of this country,
it's not.
What damage did it do? Because the last time I checked,
caused some discomfort for 4 years.
Hold on. The last time I checked, the election was certified and handled correctly and counted, and the president of the United States was named
former Vice President Poopy Pants.
Okay, so Trump's not president. So
again,
if it was a lie, and it was such a heinous lie, you would think that it would have had some kind of really bad long-term effect that has plagued our nation, but nothing happened. So, however, the lie that he just spoke of What is the effect of that? Because the line that the government and the church are so far apart that neither has any input to the other.
And
right?
again,
the church loves the idea of, well, the government can't come in here and tell me what to do, i.e., we just talked about that, right? Government can't come knock on my door and tell me how to run my church. Government can't come in and tell me how to handle the people in my church or what I'm allowed to preach and talk about or what I'm not allowed to talk about. They don't get to come in here and say anything about that. We like that idea. So we go, well, I guess that's a fair exchange that we don't come in and tell the government what to do. After all, that's what it meant when it said separation of church and state. But that's not what it said.
If you read the Constitution.
But that's still, even if you were to go into the papers.
Oh, yeah. No.
The Constitution.
The Constitution.
I'm talking about the separation of church and state papers about the church.
Listen, you started out, we've always said that we were going to start from a foundation we're going to build. The foundation is that the First Amendment says that the government cannot come in and make any laws that restrict the free worship of freedom of religion. Okay? Cannot. They can't make any law against the church or any other religion for that matter.
Right.
Okay? So they can't impose taxes. This whole nonprofit thing is absolute bogus because in order for them to collect taxes, they got to pass a law. You're not allowed to pass a law on religion.
Right.
Period. You know what's missing in that part of the Constitution? Wait, what was there a B side to that? Did it say the church can't
flip
say
the tape? Yeah.
Flip the tape. Was there a B side? Did it say church can't talk?
You know what? I saw those movies with Nicolas Cage.
Did you play it backwards?
No, maybe you have to have like the little hidden codex that's in the president's desk that you look at. The magnifying lens. Yeah, that.
Okay.
Then you can read the hidden text that's on
the fine print.
But you have to have the original, so you have to break the glass, steal the actual Constitution.
So in other words, Hollywood BS.
Exactly. That's exactly.
So. That right there. Then if you look at people like Madison, you look at, George Washington. If you look at what other...
You're talking about all these slave owners, man.
Jefferson.
Oh, another slave owner. There you go.
What's the other one?
Come on, throw another slave owner out there.
One, two.
Go on. Go ahead. It doesn't matter. You name a president, it's probably a slave owner.
Anyway... If you look at what Madison said and what Washington said, I'm trying to think, not Edison, Jefferson, who's the other? It doesn't matter. If you read the papers when they were asked, number one, Madison said that this government, like the freedom of religion, is vital to this Constitution. George Washington said that the only way that our Constitution would last is for moral men to be in the government.
Ben Franklin said,
this
is your republic if you can keep it."
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about people who believed what they came from was England, where the government controlled the church.
That's true.
They told the government told the church what they were going to do, how they were going to do it, and people who became in power in the church knew how to play the game.
Right, and they also used it as a leveraging tool for their whims and desires.
This is why the Church of England, why it was able for you to pay ahead of time for sins. Oh, you're gonna chop your wife's head off? Oh, okay, here, $50. Pay it now. You can.
Man, that's a major inflation.
You can pre-order your sin. Okay.
Can you get that on Amazon?
Okay. So.
Searching on Amazon, murdering wife. Oh, you can have that overnighted.
You could pre-order your sin for one easy payment. Have it in one business.
Well, if it was Amazon Prime, it would be like 3 payments over. You could use your Amazon Prime card on it.
Right. So that's what they were dealing with. The church itself didn't run the government. In fact, Henry VIII was so ticked off at the Rome,
he literally made
created Catholic light, the Episcopalians. Okay, I grew up in there.
Literally changed an entire church's theology so he could have as many wives as he wanted.
So he could divorce them. It was just so he could divorce them.
Fine. We'll say divorce. Sure.
Their heads were divorced from their bodies.
I was going to say it was like a sister wives club.
But that is what they came from. That is what they were leaving. Okay, a government-controlled church. So when they came here, they wanted freedom of religion. Now, granted, the majority of people that came over here were some form of Christianity. Protestant, Pilgrims, whether they were Catholic, whatever it was, they had some form of Christian belief system. And because of that was pretty much, now granted, we've got other religions now, whether we agree with them, disagree with them, whatnot, as long as they're not doing things that are illegal, they have the right to worship. But that's why we had that. And they believed that the only way, all of our founding fathers believed that the only true way to have morality is to have a God. Without a God, without a way of following a God, without having a text that tells you what God thinks on certain subjects, without having his Holy Spirit, morality doesn't exist. And without morality, the American experiment, as some people try to call it, won't exist. And that's a fact. Without moral people in office. And it may sound
now you're starting. Okay.
Without moral people in office, ain't gonna stand.
Well, and
this is where it comes back to the church is the conscience.
Right. And you know what? I really want to finish this point with a really, really profound and thought-provoking question to everybody, because when we talk about this stuff, we always come off and, we've been doing this for 3 seasons now.
We're in the 3rd season. We're almost to the end.
And we've discussed state level. We've discussed national level politic. We've discussed, parties. We've discussed legislation. We've discussed constitutions over and over again.
We've discussed gaffes of Creepy Joe.
But here's something that I think is, and I would like to say we sprinkle in the spiritual nature of the Christian faith.
On some episodes more than others.
But tonight I really want to take something in a moment, if I can. What we discuss tonight is one of the biggest levels of spiritual warfare that this nation has ever faced historically.
Yep.
Not ever in the history of this nation has there been more of a spiritual attack against Christendom, freedom, period. Okay, because not Christian freedom, but Christendom / and freedom. And it is in due part because Christians in themselves have become cowards.
Yep. Whether by their own decision or being taught to be that way.
Right. And I'm not saying that cowardice is not understood. Like, we don't know, like it's it's so negative. And no, I understand, because we have empowered the government to become the God that we never wanted.
Yep.
We've chosen that, believe it or not, by omission,
by staying quiet,
by not speaking up, by not standing up, by not saying these things, you have made this God. It's the golden calf. Okay. You go up the mountain, you go to sit down and talk to God, you turn around, you come back, and the people have optimally chosen to erect a golden statue as their God.
Yep.
Because of their impatience. And so
the same thing happened. The same thing happened with David, when
it's multiple times in biblical stuff. But
when the Jews, they decided at one point they had the judges. God chose judges to bring forth, but then they were like, "Oh, we want a government like them."
Right. But this is my point. I'm going to go back to the golden calf, because here's the biggest point and the takeaway. I don't believe the cowardice is because you're afraid. I believe the cowardice is because you're impatient.
Yep.
You're impatient with the things of God. You're not okay with God, or you're not okay with yourself and where God wants you to be. You're taking your time under this pretense of, well, I have until I don't have to get myself right now. I can do that later after I raise my kids or after I get my cozy job or after I get the house that I'm looking for or all these things. And you've involved yourself with so much of the world and the systems of the world that you've partaken so much of it, you've lost track. This is why and we talk about this, me and him and other people in my circle, we talk about you guys. And you might not like what I have to call you right now, but it is what it is. You're make believers. You pretend to be a Christian by naming God and naming Jesus because after all, you might have gotten baptized when you were 10, or you went to church and Sunday school, so you know about this much of Jesus, and that's good enough for you. You think you're saved, or if you're Catholic, well, I had my what is it?
I've been confirmed.
Confirmed. I had my confirmation. I'm good.
I want to real quick.
Are you? Because you're not helping them. You've created this mess and you're not doing anything but complain about it.
I want people to get it I recently, in reading books, actually lately, listening to audiobooks of certain religious leaders and theologians that I'd heard about in some sermon every once in a while. But I've come to realize through scripture and through listening to these things and through praying and through the Holy Spirit showing me things, I am pretty sure that I'm not the only one that has grown up in their faith being told that you're an ambassador for the kingdom of God here on earth. You're an ambassador. You need to go out and proclaim the kingdom and talk to people. Basically, you're to live here, but you're not of here. That's that.
Okay.
I've come to realize that all of that is false.
Okay.
Hear me out.
I'm going to listen to this one.
Hear me out. Okay. I gotta go a little bit of a roundabout, but we'll get there.
No, don't take too long.
I'm not going to. Okay. When Adam and Eve sinned, because originally when Adam was created, God gave keys to the earth, basically,
yes,
to Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Then, when sin came into the mix, Adam effectively gave the keys to Satan.
Yep.
Jesus died on the cross.
Took the keys.
Yep. Who owns the earth? We do. Where is the kingdom of heaven? On earth as it is in heaven.
Okay.
Therefore, we are not ambassadors inside of another country. We are liaisons to a conquered nation by the kingdom of heaven to help bring them into the fold, to help ingratiate them into the kingdom, to ingratiate them into the country. We are not here to be an ambassador to them as we walk around in their world, because this world is not theirs. This world is ours. Why? Because God gave it to us. Is it perfect? No, we've destroyed it. But the kingdom is here. The kingdom is now. You can't sit there and pray, God, have your will in your kingdom in heaven, on earth as it is in heaven, if you don't believe that the kingdom is here and now. We are not just simple, ambassadors. I live in heaven and I'm just visiting here. No, the kingdom is here. As long as you are here and you call upon Christ as your king, then the kingdom is here. Well, you're part of this kingdom, and you're more of a liaison than an ambassador.
I can agree with you, but I will disagree with you on one point. In the liaison part, you could say that's fine, but you're also an ambassador because the kingdom is in you. So when you are as a participant in this experiment, the only way the kingdom is going to be what you say, like the world is completely ours in that scope, is when the kingdom has fully come, right? So
that's not
it to be clear, because I'll be honest with you, if based on your statements, the things that are happening in this world wouldn't happen because
because those things are supposed to happen. Remember I said the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Remember, earth is imperfect. The earth is imperfect because of sin and everything else. But this is still ours.
Right.
This is God's planet. This is his realm.
Well,
now, later, there's a bunch of crap that's going to happen because let's look at it this way. Anytime a country takes over another one, okay, well, we won't even go there. We'll go with the Civil War. When the treaty happened, when the ceasefire happened, did every battalion hear about it right away?
No.
They were still fighting skirmishes a year later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That is where we are now on the earth. God has taken back what is his. Problem is, there's a lot of people that haven't gotten the news yet. Or they're ignoring the news.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So we've got to deal with it that way. We are clean. We're the
in the sense but you're still an ambassador because the liaison part I agree with you, and here's the part I say the ambassador part is also true because it's not in the sense of the ambassador as an ambassador is to a foreign nation, but the ambassador who is the representative of the kingdom, right? So
that's what I say liaison because liaisons work with
right, but we're also representative. Right, so we're representative of the higher authority of the government of God, so and of Christ. So when we say somebody's an ambassador of the kingdom, really you're an ambassador of Christ. Is a more appropriate way of saying it because the government is on his shoulders. So when we say that, you're really an ambassador of Christ. What you are to represent him. And to represent him well. So when we're talking about the things that are going wrong in this world and the moral degradation and the high level of it that is happening, it isn't
high
because
levels that are
it isn't because
low levels.
Well, it isn't because there's a moral depravity that is in existence because it's been there. The problem is the ambassadors have been on the sidelines.
The problem is that those who carry the morality, that standard, have put their standard away because they're like, Jesus already won. I don't have to do anything.
Or they're waiting for their time out. That's it. So here's my
and both stances of the it's already done. I don't need to do anything, or just waiting to exit Earth. Both of which the apostles spoke highly against those mindsets. Like they were offended by those mindsets. Right. You are supposed to live in the here and now. Yes, God gives us a future. Yes, he gives us, he secures us a future on this earth until no more, and then later in heaven. Okay, but we're not supposed to be like, I guess I'll just lay down and die. That's not what we're supposed to do.
These are the people that are expecting their ticket that they signed when they were 13 in the Catholic Church is going to be good when they go to check out when the rapture happens because, God's going to take them out of here and they don't have to put up with this stuff. But listen, I mean, we could talk for days and months on end about this particular subject. But to get back to the main point, what we are talking about tonight and summarizing all this up is this current standard, the world and what they're trying to attest to you is utopia. They're trying to tell you that you're in good hands, Allstate, right? Okay, that insurance. They have your best interest at heart, and what we're trying to tell you, the moral rightness here, okay, because we can understand what's good and what's bad. You don't have to take my word for it, but just, hey, I don't know, go out on a limb. Why don't you talk to God about it and see what he thinks? See what he thinks about the depravity. See what he thinks about the bestiality that is being done to your children. Brutality, sorry.
Brutality. It's not bestiality,
but brutality. There's probably that mixed in there too, but whatever.
Well, eventually.
Okay? Because it's just going to degrade and degrade and degrade. And if you are just going to sit on the sidelines, then get out of the way and let the people who actually care more about your kids, more about your lives, more about the betterment of the entire society and the world, by the way, okay? Because we believe that it's only going to be in good hands if it's in God's hands.
Yep.
And that's the only way it's going to get better. And I'm not going to even go on this limb and go, oh, well, we need to start getting on our knees and praying. No, you need to pray to find out what your marching orders are. That's what praying is for. It's not going to God and asking him to fix the problem. It's going to God and saying, God, what do you need me to do to fix the problems that we created?
Yep.
Repent and then start getting it right.
Yep.
That's how we're going to get things back. And you know what, brother? I think this is probably, and I'm going to just say this is probably one of the best episodes we've done today. Honestly. In the sense of just, we're talking about stuff that, you know what, hits both our hearts in a real heavy way, but at the same time, we're calling on the carpet and the mat that when we say we're the corner of church and state, we're not like he's state, I'm church, hey, ha, ha, it's punny, funny, ha, ha. No, we're talking about how we have come to a point where we understand the blending of the involvement of the church in the affairs of the state in order to actually make this world function the way God originally intended and the way our forefathers originally came to this nation to build. Because that's what it's about.
I will say this, no matter how bad it gets, it can always, with God, not with man, with God, it can be turned around.
Right.
Now, I've read the end of the book.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
But
do we allow it to get so much worse before it's even the time that it's supposed to? Or do we fight hard? Just because we know it's going to get bad, does that mean we give up the fight? If you knew tomorrow that somebody was going to come punch you in the face on your way to work.
Groundhog's Day.
Huh?
Sounds like Groundhog's
Day.
Day.
If you knew somebody was going to come to you,
he's going to put the toaster in the bathtub.
You get out of your car, you're walking to your office, and you know they're going to punch you in the face. Do you not go to work? Or, knowing that there's going to be a punch in the face, you prepare for the punch to the face, either by blocking it, fighting back, or taking a different route, but you still get there.
Yep.
Okay, we know the end story. We know where it ends. Do we know the exact how we're going to get there? Absolutely not. God made it very clear that no man ever will know the date, time, and anything else. We know the end game. We don't know the intricate details. And anybody who says otherwise, automatically a liar. The minute they start, automatically a liar. Because if they say they know, well, then they lie. But anyway, we need to fight. Read the Old Testament, read the New Testament, Paul, David's mighty men, David himself, all the different armies in the Old Testament, all the disciples, the apostles. They fought. Some physically, actually fighting, physical war, and some fighting spiritual war. Political war on a physical plane.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, look, they didn't go to prison and just, sing songs because they were, bad guys doing bad things.
No, they,
just saying.
They fought. One way, shape, or form, you fight. And if we're just going to lay down and let the world go in whatever direction that they decide they want to go in today, because it'll swing back another direction and just get worse. Okay? Because remember, the homosexual community just wanted to have equal rights with straight people to have marriage.
Yeah.
And we're never going to come after your children.
Lies.
Now they're going for pedophilia. Now they're trying to bring in the maps and all those. I'm trying to not.
Just don't.
Yeah.
It's understood.
Yeah. My infuriation with that. That's where they're at now. What's next? I would say sacrificing children, but Planned Parenthood does that every day.
Hey, I already kind of led to it, didn't I? Animals?
Yeah, it'll go to bestiality eventually. It's going to get worse. It always will.
I actually think it kind of did. The monkeypox and the dog. I'm just saying. Whatever.
That's another topic.
That's a whole nother bag.
That's a whole other topic.
But anyway, brother.
So the corner of church and state, the reason why we've gone by that name is not like just like my brother here said, it's not because I'm one, he's the other. It's because there's a point in which the church and state has to intersect. And when it does, there's a point.
There it is.
And that's where we have to meet.
Yep.
And that's where the fight has to happen. That's where the sharpening has to happen. And it's inevitable. It doesn't matter if you have two lines, even if you start one going one way and one going the other, because think of it as we're on a sphere like the Earth. Eventually, those lines are going to hit each other.
All those flat earthers.
I'm going to piss off somebody tonight. There is no magic portal on the one side that brings you to the other.
Oh,
sorry, this is not Pac-Man.
Darn.
But anyway, they're going to intersect eventually. We have the choice of when we make it intersect, because it's going to happen. Do we make it on our terms, or is it on their terms, or is it on somebody else's entirely terms, or do we do it when God tells us to?
That's the right answer.
And that's what we need to do. So, this has been another episode. We're hitting the hour.
Yep, we're here.
And this is the corner of church and state, where there is no separation. And in 2 weeks, we will have another episode. We are getting into the voting season.
That is correct.
And we're going to talk about some of the things going on. We're going to try to talk about some people that were surprises 2 years ago, like Ed Durr. See if we can't. I'm still trying. Ed Durr, if you're watching this, please, I'm still trying to get you so you can be a guest. If not, we will talk about you and see what you've been able to do in your first year in a mostly Democratic state. We will also talk about how I've already called out Jeff Van Drew. And if he wins this year, he better shape up or ship out, because in 2 years after this, I'm going to tear him to shreds via social media, because I'm sick of I will no longer just vote for anybody and stay quiet. You got a job.
And that's the other part of it. We
gave you a job. We're the boss. You work for us.
You have to hold them accountable.
So we're going to start holding accountable. We're going to talk about that in 2 weeks, because we've got the midterm elections. Some they're calling for a red wave. Some are calling for a red tsunami. And, well, Democrats think that the red doesn't exist. If you watch their polls.
What else?
So this has been a great episode. I look forward to seeing you here again in 2 weeks. Y'all have a good night, and God bless.
Good night.
Peace.
Freedom ain't free in America. Got soldiers dying overseas, so America, you say what we believe, my America.